Yes.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Eloisa Ramos, and we're here studying the text of A Course in Miracles. And my friend Connie is joining me. Hi, Connie.
Hi.
Okay, let's see. We left off on chapter 14, the teaching for truth. And we are on section 11. Okay, the test for truth. So that's the last section. It is a long section, so we'll probably split it up into two. Okay, so let's go ahead and start the test of truth. Yet the essential thing is learning that you do not know. Boy, is that appropriate?
Bingo.
Um, Knowledge is power, and all power is of God. You who have tried to keep power for yourself have lost it. You still have the power, but you have interposed so much between it and your awareness of it that you cannot use it. Everything you have taught yourself has made your power more and more obscure to you. You know not what it is, nor where. You have made a semblance of power and a show of strength so pitiful that it must fail you. For power is not a seeming strength, and truth is beyond semblance of any kind. Yet all that stands between you and the power of God in you is but your learning of the false and of your attempts to undo the true. Okay. Okay, so the Holy Spirit is a teacher of undoing, okay? And it's undoing what we have taught ourselves, because what we taught ourselves, like it says here, let's see, everything, line 5, everything you have taught yourself has made your power more and more obscure to you. Okay, so the healing of the mind, which is the purpose of the Holy Spirit to help us to undo everything that is in the way of the awareness of that true power. Line 4, you still have the power, but you have interposed so much between it and your awareness of it that you cannot use it. Okay. So we've put so many ideas that are false, thoughts of separation that are false, thoughts about what we think we are, as a body, as an ego, and all those ideas, you could say, are like a distraction so that we can't see past them to the truth of the power that we are as God created us. Because because it's not seeing with the body's eyes, and that's what we're used to. We're just used to seeing with the body's eyes. That's why it's using the word semblance here. 7, you have made a semblance, because it's an appearance. A semblance is an appearance of power, right? So when we feel threatened, okay, believing we are separate from God and do not have the strength of God, we try to make some kind of an image that will appear to be strong, because we don't want to appear vulnerable or weak. And we're going to be afraid because we know it's just an image. It's, a front, it's a mask. So deep down, we feel weak and vulnerable. And so that's why it says here that it must fail you. It's a show of strength so pitiful that it must fail you, because it's not real. It's not real strength. So whether we try to use a strong voice or a very dominating posture, right? Or maybe aggressive manners, or what else? Or, make a reference to how many connections and people we know. And, we have people in high places and, all our connections to, it's all about force and control and getting what I want, at the expense, of course, of everybody else, because it's a perception of scarcity. Because that we think that power is scarce and is not shared. So there's always a sense of inequality, which is going to instill fear, because we are going to see or perceive incorrectly that there's always competition, or someone, is always out to get me, or we can't trust anyone, so there's all this insecurity. And so all we have is this seeming strength, which is an image, which is an act, you know. Um, okay, and so all that stands between you and the power of God in you is but your learning of the false and of your attempts to undo the true. So what it means is we have to look at the error. We have to look at what we taught ourselves in error, okay? And we have to see that it's an attempt, it's a defense, it has a purpose to hide or to quote unquote undo what's true. Because we think we can oppose truth. That's the main, that's sort of the central goal of the ego thought system, is the belief in opposition of God. And of course, God being knowledge and power, it means that we're actually making ourselves weak and putting ourselves in a place where we do not know anything, because we're opposing knowledge. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous, but we do need to look at that to be able to undo that, yeah, and with the Holy Spirit, so that we're not sabotaging, um, so that the mind is not split. Okay.
Be willing then for all of it to be undone, and be glad that you are not bound to it forever. For you have taught yourself how to imprison the Son of God, a lesson so unthinkable that only the insane in deepest sleep could even dream of it. Can God learn how not to be God? And can his Son, given all power by him, learn to be powerless? What have you taught yourself that you can possibly prefer to keep in place of what you have and what you are?
So what have we taught ourselves that we could prefer to keep in place? Any ideas? No,
Well, pretty much everything scary.
everything's scary.
Fear. We've taught ourselves big time fear.
Yeah, yeah, but what's the attraction? See, because it's a preference. So what it's saying is that we have taught ourselves that there's something valuable or more valuable here than really what we have been given by God.
The separation. I mean, there you go. We've taught ourselves to separate
To separate, and
and
we
go our
have
own
to,
way.
yeah, and that separation means inequality. So we really
Yes.
have to look at the benefits to inequality. Now, that's not easy to look at, because a lot of our self-identity is based on either, an image of highness or lowness, whether it's in terms of wealth, accumulation of material goods, or whether it's in terms of looks, or whether, it's all judgment, judgment, judgment. But we've invested so much in the judgment and in being right in what we've taught ourselves, that we, are not so easy um, to not protect those ideas and have the Holy Spirit just undo them. Um, yes, and so that's why it's saying here that, line 2, for you have taught yourself how to imprison the Son of God. A lesson so unthinkable that only the insane in deepest sleep could even dream of it. Yes, so the course talks about imprisoned will, and it also talks about alien will, but it's actually the same thing. An alien will can be something like, oh, hey, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. Okay. I don't care if it's in my highest good or not. Okay. And so and so the imprisonment comes because who's the decision maker when we're saying, I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want? Well, it's what we taught ourselves. It's all the past, right, Connie? Who's the decision maker?
The little separate me.
Yeah, and that me has preferences and has likes, and they're all conditioned.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not real decisions, but
Mhm.
that's basically what we call, capriciousness of the ego. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. Okay, well, okay, I have habits and I have needs and I have whatever. Okay, and so we've made all of those conditioned behavior imprison our free will to decide for God, for love, for forgiveness, for peace, for joy, um, for
Mhm.
happiness. Okay. So, yes. But if we're willing, see, there's that little willingness, and that does imply trust. Okay. Because if we can't trust the Holy Spirit, we will not be willing to listen to it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
so we'll just stay stuck, we'll just feel stuck, imprisoned. Nothing works for me. I've tried this, I've tried that, and it doesn't work. God is so unfair. It gives favors to others, but not to me. It's a whole story of unfairness, of being a victim, and therefore I'm justified in being a victimizer. It's just, yeah, it's a whole big production there.
Yeah. So you used trust. I mean, that's our biggest thing. I mean, yeah, and I'm just wondering, curious, do you have something that helps you get right into that when you know you're not trusting or boy, because yeah, the trust thing. Sometimes I feel so trusting and then other times not.
Yes, so you want to notice. So the process that, I have used is to notice, okay, when I'm in fear, because obviously if I'm in fear, I'm not trusting. Okay, and then release that. Go into that and look at it. And then, I do the tapping, the EFT tapping, or just the Course in Miracles, the lessons. I use those to be able to let go, of the fear. So like, for example, I'll notice, like I noticed just when I was turning on the computer, um, that I had a little bit of tightness in my gut. And I noticed a little bit of that shift from being really in a place of trust. And I was thinking, okay, so I'm going into the computer and now I'm distracted. And somehow that distraction is now bringing up a body sensation. So my whole attention went away from the present moment. Okay. And it went into what I was doing on the computer. And then it went into the sensations of the body. And I was giving meaning to those. So when I start giving meaning to body sensations, then I have, I've done the level confusion, because the body sensations are all effect, they're not creative. And once I start giving explanations for, oh, I must be feeling this way, or, once I start giving credibility to any of the effects, then I have it upside down. Okay, did that help,
Yeah, that's
Connie?
good. That's really
Okay.
helpful. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, so 3, atonement teaches you how to escape forever from everything that you have taught yourself in the past by showing you only what you are now. Okay, so learning has been accomplished before its effects are manifest. Learning is therefore in the past, but its influence determines the present by giving it whatever meaning it holds for you. Your learning gives the present, your learning, okay, gives the present no meaning at all. Nothing you have ever learned can help you understand the present or teach you how to undo the past. Your past is what you have taught yourself. Let it all go. Do not attempt to understand any event or anything or anyone in its light. For the darkness in which you try to see can only obscure. Put no confidence at all in darkness to illuminate your understanding, for if you do, you contradict the light and thereby think you see the darkness. Yet darkness cannot be seen, for it is nothing more than a condition in which seeing becomes impossible. Okay. Okay, so it's about accepting the atonement. Atonement, there's no separation. Okay, so right off the bat, everything that shows up in our experience as an experience, we want to recognize that whatever it's saying to us, whatever meaning it has for us, if it has any kind of separation idea in it about what we are or what others are, it's not true. Okay. So it's really about not identifying with the experience that we're having to be able to see that what it's saying is not true, because it's an effect. So this is what it's saying here. Okay. Everything you have taught yourself in the past, let's see, how to escape forever from everything you have taught yourself in the past by showing you only what you are now. Yes. So we see only the past. Okay. That's one of the first few lessons. So by staying in the present moment, we open the mind to Holy Spirit guidance to be able to see what is showing up in the present without all of the interpretation and meaning that is in our past memories, past events, because we will compare it. So if we take what happens right now and then we start judging it or comparing it or evaluating it, we're going to be referencing everything in the past that we taught ourselves. Does that make sense? Yeah. And once we do that, we will have lost the awareness of the truth, because our reference point now is everything we've made up. Okay. So all our memories, everything, all the events that we remember are not whole. Memories are not whole. They're incomplete. They're interpretations. They tell us what we want to see, just like the projections in the world. They tell us what we want to see. It's a distortion because it's based on specifics that are showing us a very tunnel vision view of comparing and evaluating specifics and therefore not seeing the bigger picture. Okay. We only include the tiny little point of view. We close everything out. Okay. So what it's saying here is that the reason why we don't focus on what we're doing or what someone is doing or what is happening in terms of meaning. Okay, what meaning does this have? Okay, well, it's an effect. Okay, so what it's saying is that learning has been accomplished before its effects are manifest. So by the time we see something in the quote unquote world, okay, the cause of it, the learning of it, the thoughts that made it have already happened. Okay. Yeah. And what we see is the effects. So for example, the contraction in my stomach, okay, that's an effect that I notice in the body. Okay. But the thought of that symptom had already happened because I had been distracted from the present moment and gone into I don't know, whatever it was I was doing on the computer. So so there was a shift there from true perception to false perception. And the effect is a sign of fear. Contraction in the stomach is a sign of fear for me. So that tells me, okay, I was depending on learning in my past to maneuver around in the computer without guidance. Okay, so learning is therefore in the past, but its influence determines the present. Why? Because we hold on to what we believe and the judgments we have made. And that is what is a filter for what we see as an effect. Okay? Because it's the same judgment. We're superimposing the meaning. I see only the past, and we're superimposing it on the present. So we're not really seeing reality in the present. We're superimposing all of this past stuff that we've learned onto it. That's why it's darkness. And determines the present by giving it whatever meaning it holds for you. So it's a very specific personal meaning for me. And then it says your learning gives the present no meaning at all. And why is that? Well, because everything I taught myself is ego. They're ego thoughts, and they're contradictory because it's a dualistic system. And because it's contradictory, it has no meaning at all. It says nothing. It communicates nothing. That's why it's fearful. And therefore, none of it can help us learn or understand the present. Only the Holy Spirit guidance can help us understand the present. And it can also not help us to undo the past, because it is the past. The past cannot undo the past. Okay? So we need Holy Spirit, present moment, to be able to look at the error in the past to undo it. Because the Holy Spirit is the link to truth, to knowledge that has not left our mind. That's the light that dispels the darkness. Okay, so my past is what I have taught myself. Okay, and that's what I am here to let go of. And what happens is that we try to understand events. It says, do not attempt to understand any event or anything or anyone in its light. Okay. So here's the thing, okay? We don't really know anything because we've lost this awareness to knowledge. Okay, it's still there, but it's a dim light there. Okay. And but the thing is, we're not comfortable with not knowing. Okay. So a lot of people can really go into anxiety when they are in a place of, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Okay. But at the same time, they're not open to someone else telling them what to do. Okay. Well, no, you're commanding me. I'm not going to do what you want me to do. I want to do what I will want to do. Okay. But I don't know what to do. Okay. So that's sort of the capriciousness of the ego there. I'm my own boss, so don't tell me what to do. But I don't know what to do. Okay. Okay. So, okay. So put no confidence at all in darkness to illuminate your understanding. For if you do, you contradict the light, and therefore you think you see darkness. Okay. Yes. So true seeing becomes impossible when we try to understand events based on our past references of what we've learned, because what we've learned is error. And so to try to understand, events or people's motivation or any of that, oh, well, maybe they, were, well, why did they do that? Well, maybe they were trying to do this, or why do you think that happened? I said, don't try to do that. Don't try to figure out why you think something happened. You don't know. We don't know. But we can't handle that for some reason, And therefore we lose sight of the peace that we can have when we just say, okay, you know what? I don't know why that happened. Okay. But I'm just going to trust. I'm going to go into a place of trust that it's all working for good. Okay, everything works for good. And I trust in that. Okay, Connie?
It's kind of funny because sometimes, if I say, when I say that, I don't know, I can see the look of perplexed expression on someone else's face, but well, you should know. Why don't you know?
Yes. So see how uncomfortable we are with
Yes.
not only are we uncomfortable with not knowing ourselves, but then if we go to someone else who we think can tell us, the expert can tell us, and so then we can know. And for them to say, I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't solve the problem for them. Do you see
Or
what I'm saying?
even in my own relationship, if Chris comes to me asking for something, and then I say, I don't know, I can see it's like, well, what do you mean you don't know? And it's just, yeah, that
Well,
uncomfortable.
that
Yeah.
happened to me this morning. So, so my husband comes in and we're in the middle of a conversation with one of my children, and then they leave, and then he's like, well, what was that about? You know, and I'm like, I'm like, you heard as much as I heard. Okay. I don't have additional information. All right. And he's like, yeah, but why is she reacting like that? What's going on? I'm like, I'm like, look, I'm okay with not knowing. Okay. So you got to work on that. Okay. Because you're not okay with not knowing. It's the same thing with, you know, with your child. Okay. They're not comfortable with not knowing. Okay. So, um, because it's very frustrating because we have given the past the false authority to tell us what to do. We've made
So,
it into a false decision maker.
yeah. So then that's where the trust has to come in.
It
I mean,
has to come in, yes, because now we don't technically we can't rely on that. So we've done enough work to recognize that, okay, the past is not something that is whole and complete and trustworthy. Okay. I don't know everything. Okay, so I can't trust what I learn. How can I trust what I learn if I recognize now that I don't know everything? Okay, so now I don't have that to take guidance or direction from. Okay, and until I put my trust just in the present and open the mind to the Holy Spirit guidance, it basically feels like I have no direction. I have nothing to direct me and what I
yeah.
do. So I feel lost without direction, without meaning, without a rudder, without knowing what I'm doing in life. Okay, and that's very frustrating.
Well, something you said just there too makes me, okay, so you can say, oh, just trust. But then the other part of that is, as you said, open my mind to direction. I mean, without that part, you can, just kind of say, okay, I'll trust. But that's a really important piece to it, I think. Yeah.
Well, yes. So the opening of the mind means that I am willing to
Mm,
be wrong about what I think and I believe.
mm,
Because if I'm not willing to be open to change my thinking, I'm not going to hear the Holy Spirit because it's not because the Holy Spirit's not there, it's because I don't want to listen to it because that's its job. Its job is there. It's a fear of loss. Okay. But losing what is not real is not loss. So to lose what I believe that is in error is not really loss, it's support. It's not an attack, it's support. And it's essential in learning. So, the course talks about a happy learner. Well, without an open mind, we don't learn. And therefore we stay stuck
mm.
because we're not open to changing our mind, our thinking, our beliefs, our thoughts. We don't want to be wrong.
Mhm.
And we are wrong. every time we rely on any of our past learning, which is all ego thoughts, it's all error. The whole thing is error. So yes, we're going to be wrong, but that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. When we can recognize that we have the support to let go of error and let go of being wrong, it's not a problem. We're not going to stay stuck in being wrong. We just have to look at it so that it can be undone. And I think we're afraid of, you know, I think we confuse looking at the error with accepting it. You see what I'm saying? It's a little bit like, let's see, looking at our problems and saying, yes, they're real. I have to accept them. No, we're not looking at them to make them real. Because, see, that's what the seeing with the eyes does. Whenever we use the seeing with the eyes is to make what is not real, real. So then we have a hard time applying the ideas of the course because we think that by looking at the error, we're accepting that it's real. And so we're going to feel bad about ourselves for having made the error real. Yeah. And of course, if it's associated with sin, then we're going to feel like we're bad, you know. So anyway. Okay, number 4.
Okay. You who have not yet brought all of the darkness you have taught yourself into the light in you can hardly judge the truth and value of this course. Yet God did not abandon you, and so you have another lesson sent from him, already learned for every child of light by him to whom God gave it. This lesson shines with God's glory, for in it lies his power, which he shares so gladly with his Son. Learn of his happiness, which is yours. But to accomplish this, all your dark lessons must be brought willingly to truth and joyously laid down by hands open to receive, not closed to take. Every dark lesson that you bring to him who teaches light, he will accept from you because you do not want it. And he will gladly exchange each one for the bright lesson he has learned for you. Never believe that any lesson you have learned apart from him means anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's see, anything there, Connie?
Well, kind of what we were just talking about, and then another piece to that as well, being willing to open our minds, but also open to receive, to take. Yeah, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
line 6. Anyway,
Yes, yes, that line 6 is really good. And actually, that's what it means to open your mind. It's receiving,
Mm,
you see,
yeah.
because receiving means I am open to what is being given to me, okay, and I'm willing to let go of anything that is not in alignment with it.
Mhm,
Yeah,
exactly.
and that's what correction is.
Mhm,
Yeah. And so for a lot of us, the taking, there's a lot of pride in the, taking. I'm a go-getter. What I want, I go out and get. Okay, so there's pride, there's, arrogance, there's a lot of, I'm in charge, I'm in control, I'm in,
mhm,
making a difference in the world kind of a thing.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
So the receiving is really a position of recognizing, okay, I'm not doing anything here. Okay. Everything is already in effect. So the only thing that I can really offer the world is the light that can come through my mind when it is open to receiving the Holy Spirit. That's the only thing that I can really offer the world. And that's what salvation is. That's what a blessing is. So I can offer a blessing simply um, by bringing that open mind that, shines the light into the world for others, because um,
Yeah.
and they will see it, they will notice it. Yeah. Yes. So when we have not brought all the darkness, we are still not in a position to judge the truth or the value of this course. So there's always a sense of being open to learning, because we put ourselves into the judge position, we think we already know everything. How else, how else would be considered judging, right? Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, yet God did not abandon you. And so you have another lesson. Um, uh, okay, so once we go into the judgment, we are not going to be happy, okay, because we have lost sight of the truth, which is the light and is happiness, because it brings us inner strength and it brings us peace, and let's see, it's it's a truth of what we are as God created us. And so in it lies his power that he shares so gladly with his son. Learn of his happiness, which is yours. So by not valuing the world, by not trying to take or get or grab from the world because we've given it value and we think it's going to make us happy, okay, we can be open to receiving the truth, which is our happiness. It is joyous. Because we're not in stress, always trying to survive and always trying to get what we need, because, we're afraid we're not going to survive. We're not going to have enough money. We're not going to, we're going to be trying to keep ourselves healthy because we're aging. We're going to be just this frantic, kind of a mess, trying to keep it all together. Um, so let's see. Okay. And that's where meaning comes from. A lot of times we try to find meaning in the world, and we end up, in the end, we end up disappointed in the long run. Whatever achievement it is or whatever, it doesn't, it's impermanent. So, we can consider it a gain, but then there's always the loss of it. So, yeah, it's not a happy thing. It's not. Yeah. Okay. Next one, 5. Let me, okay, you have one test, as sure as God, by which to recognize if what you learned is true. If you are wholly free of fear of any kind, and if all those who meet or even think of you share in your perfect peace, then you can be sure that you have learned God's lesson and not your own. Unless all this is true, there are dark lessons in your mind that hurt and hinder you and everyone around you. The absence of perfect peace means but one thing: You think you do not will for God's Son what his Father wills for him. Every dark lesson teaches this in one form or another. And each bright lesson with which the Holy Spirit will replace the dark ones you do not accept teaches you that you will with the Father and his Son. Okay, so there's a lot of trust here that's required because it's about recognizing that our will is God's will and God's will is our will. It's the same will. So anytime we don't completely embrace that, there's going to be fear because it's going to be embracing the belief in separation. I have a separate will. I can do what I can oppose, what God wills for me. So I'm confusing. There's a lot of confusion, obviously. We've made a lot of things into God that are not God. So we think we're rebelling against God, but we're not rebelling against God. We can't rebel against God. It's not possible. Okay. But, we think, oh, well, the institution is God. So I'm going to rebel against the institution. I'm going to rebel against my school, or I'm going to rebel against my parents, or I'm going to whatever authority I have made into God, I'm going to believe that I can oppose that. And therefore, I'm going to believe that I can have a separate will from God. And all of it is just made up. None of it is real. So in truth, we cannot oppose the will of God. The will of God is the will of God. There is no other will. So any thought at all that there is another will is the dark lesson here, line 3. Unless all this is true, there are dark lessons in your mind that hurt and hinder you and everyone around you. It includes everyone around you because we automatically teach what we believe. So we will be reinforcing insanity instead of sanity around us. Okay, so that's the test right there. Perfect peace and wholly free of fear of any kind. Okay, next one, Connie.
Wow, the dark lesson. It's just opposing God's will. Oh, so why is it so simple and so complex? Oh, okay. Number 6. Do not be concerned about how you can learn a lesson so completely different from everything that you have taught yourself. How would you know? Your part is very simple. You need only recognize that everything you learned you do not want. Let's see. Ask to be taught and do not use your experiences to confirm what you have learned. When your peace is threatened or disturbed in any way, say to yourself, I do not know what anything, including this, means, and so I do not know how to respond to it. And I will not use my own past learning as the light to guide me now.
Okay.
Oh, I think there's a little more here. By this refusal to attempt to teach yourself what you do not know, the guide whom God has given you will speak to you. He will take his rightful place in your awareness the instant you abandon it and offer it to him. Wow, what a beautiful paragraph. Okay, got it.
Yes. Yes, so like you said, Connie, it's very simple here, okay? We just need to recognize that everything you learn you do not want, okay? And it's giving us the way to remember that. When your peace is threatened or disturbed in any way, just say to yourself, I do not know what anything, including this, means. And so I do not know how to respond to it. And I will not use my own past learning as the light to guide me now. Okay. So, in other words, when we try to help someone, when we see someone and they're in distress, okay, we want to take a pause because the first reaction is to go to the past and use our past learning, right? So it's like, oh, maybe I see someone in pain or something, and my first response is, oh, can I get you an aspirin or something? You know, so so first I have to sit and recognize, okay, I do not know what anything, including this, means. And so I do not know how to respond to it. And that opens the mind. So once I recognize I do not know how to respond to it, then I open the mind to receive guidance because I have put aside the past. I will not use my own past learning as a light to guide me now. Okay.
Just a quick example. So, a friend of mine, close friend, she fell and bruised some ribs. And so I found myself trying to understand why and how it happened. And then once I heard all that, I understood and thought it made sense that because I had figured out how it happened. But but I don't really know why it happened. But yeah, it's
And
funny.
but what does it say here? Does it say that you need to do that?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm just noticing
Yeah.
I went through that instead of just going, oh, gee, I'm sorry there's pain, or no, not even that.
Yes. So the trying to figure it out is part of the survival, thing
Yeah,
that
yeah,
we
yeah.
built up. Let's
Yes.
let's figure out where bad thing, quote unquote, because I've judged it bad already, or I wouldn't be trying to figure out how it happened.
Yeah,
You
let's
see?
see how we can prevent falling.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're trying to save ourselves by our past learning.
Hmm.
Okay. Which has nothing to do with what this event means.
So falling isn't necessarily good or bad. It just is.
It's not that it's the problem is that we're judging it. Once you go into it's good or bad, there's judgment.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. And you're trying to give meaning to the event. Okay. And the event itself will only have meaning to the person that experienced it.
Right.
Okay. So it didn't happen to you, it happened to her. Okay.
And
So
I'm trying to
it's,
figure it out for me and how
yes. Why are you trying to figure it's not your experience? So your
to
experience is seeing her with that experience.
so rather than just seeing her whole and complete and fine.
Yeah. So there's no threat there other than you allowed the fear to come into your mind to say, oh, that could happen to me. I
Yeah,
want to try to prevent that. I want to see what she did wrong
right.
that
Okay.
made that
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I want to see what she did wrong. So
So it
it
can make
won't
that.
happen to me.
uh,
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
Ugh,
So the doing is not creative. the right and the wrong is not creative. Okay, it's our thoughts. That's what we started with right here at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's our
Ju-
thoughts that then show up as effects. Okay,
Mhm.
so
The judging, judging.
yes, right here, learning, line 2, paragraph 3. Learning has been accomplished before its effects are manifest. Okay,
Mm.
so the what's manifest is the event. Okay, she fell down. That's what manifested as an event. Okay, the cause is always in our mind. It's the learning. What did we teach? What did I teach myself?
Mm,
Okay, so
mhm.
what I taught myself is then projected and becomes manifest as the experience of a body, ego, self.
The cause is in the learning.
Yes, in our learning. And it's an error. So it's going to have to show up as an error too.
Uh-huh, yes. Okay,
So
yeah.
I don't want to interpret that because then I would be making the same error.
Making it true for myself.
Well, yes, I would be making the doing the cause, which is the same error. Okay, the cause is not in the doing, it's in the mind
Yeah.
that is holding on to the darkness. That's the error.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't released the darkness. That's why it says here that it will hurt you. Remember where we
Mm,
said that?
yeah,
Yeah, let's see where God did not abandon you, but if you hold on to the darkness, it will hurt you. It said something like that.
yeah, it really hurt you.
Well, it hurts the self that we think we are.
Right,
It doesn't
right,
ever hurt the true self, but
right.
that's what this is. That's what this whole thing is. It's an experience of being a body and an ego. Okay,
Mm.
but let's see. We need to stop, Connie. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we do. Okay, so we'll pick up next time on paragraph 7. So it's a good place to stop here.
Okay.
Yeah, I do not know what anything, including this, means.
Gosh, I just get so frustrated that I'm so quick to forget all this stuff. Ah,
Well,
we're still
because
recording.
Ye- because that's what it says here. It says, do not worry about that. Okay. Just
Mm,
worry about this right here. I do not know what anything. And it's not literally worry about it, but just try to practice it. That's why it's a
yeah.
practice.
Otherwise, I'm going right into the past again.
hmm
Yeah.
hmm
Well, blah, 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 blah.
Well, we're immersed in it. I mean, that's what the body's eye see. It's really a whole reversal of everything we taught ourselves.
Mm,
But we just take it a little bit at a time.
yeah.
Don't try to, yeah. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you. And yeah, we'll finish next time.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.